Hello everybody, this is Fuji here, and I thought I might do a little bit of a teardown video, as much as we can of it anyway. I don't know if there's anything much to it. So my mom was having her vehicle serviced. Something was going on with the overhead interior lights, and something in the way of a finicky switch. I do believe something struck it at some point and kind of made things a little wonky. And when we took it to our local mechanic, we got a phone call stating that they damaged something a lot more costly while doing it, and that happened to be the positioning module for the vehicle that tells you when you're departing lanes, or if somebody's doing something stupid that they shouldn't and you should probably look alive, or that kind of stuff. And it just was sort of par of the course when buying the car. This is applicable to a 2018 and 2019 Honda Fit and a Honda Fit Sport. My mom bought that car in 2019, brand new, when somebody totaled her previous vehicle due to being under the influence of a substance, and it obviously ruled in her favor. And she got this car. It's not a car that she's going to keep forever. She's actually car hunting as we speak, but right now buying a car is not a very good idea, so we're going to be keeping this thing longer than originally anticipated. But it is a nice little car, the little turbo in it, 4-cylinder. It's got a little get up and go. It's not my idea of a practical car, but it's a little small for my taste. Not because of its overall form factor, but because it's just a bit cramped for me to drive. I have very long legs and a very long torso, so steering and head clearance are kind of a problem. And it doesn't matter what position you put the seats in, or what position you put the steering wheel in. Your knees are always going to be rubbing. My knees are always going to be rubbing the steering wheel, and my head is always going to be rubbing the ceiling. But for her purposes, it's a very fine car, and gets nice fuel economy, and it's got some nice bells and whistles. And but it does this as it would be. I asked if I could have back the damaged vehicle position sensor that just kind of sticks in the little visor module in the center of the windshield, and it just kind of tells the car what the hell's up, and it interfaces with this little optical sensor, and that sends signals to the ECM and PCM to do things like brake assist, but you can disable that, which she did because she can't stand it. And but it's just there. That's just the thing. It was it's a good car. There are just things you don't use, so you don't have to use them if you don't want to. But there was no choice in the matter of having them or not. So we got this little guy here, and as you can see, it's a part made by the company Nidec. You might know them. I know them from making high-end computer fans. They are. It's made out of cast aluminum, it seems, probably acting as a heat sink. I could imagine something doing all of this at any given point in time, all the time. Gets pretty warm, so it makes sense why that would be a heat sink. The model number is going to be SR1A5. It applicable for the 2018 and 2019 fits. The interesting thing about these is that you can't just replace these. They have to be VIN specific. So you order one. This isn't something that you can go and just get from a specialty auto parts retailer. You need to actually buy this OEM, and they ship it out to you with your vehicle's credentials on it. So then you take it to a calibration facility, and they put it in this booth with sensors all over the place, and the sensors, what they do is they stimulate this position sensor, and calibrate it for key functions as you would see on the road. So kind of interesting. So we can take this one apart because this one is not functional anymore. And I'm not entirely sure how hard they had to whack this, considering it's all metal construction. but I thought it would make an interesting teardown video. So let's have a look. There's no security bits in here, shockingly enough, but I have to assume that a lot of this, if I'm going to take a guess, a lot of stuff in here is going to be potted or filled with an epoxy resin, so no one can tamper with it. But we won't know until we check it out. I can already see that there's going to be some Loctite on this, so let me crack the screws. There's one. There's two. There's three. There's four. Now there's probably some blue Loctite on here just to keep vibration and stuff to a minimum, so let's have a look at what's going on with this guy. I don't know anything about this. Automotive electronics are way out of my field of expertise. I know how to service and look at, you know, and trace wiring and fuse issues and look at shorts and parasitic draws and stuff, but you know, that's just because my vehicle that I own is 25 years old to 01. So anything around that age, probably up until like 2010 or something, I could probably be somewhat useful in diagnosing problems, but anything newer than that, I'm probably going to look like a dunce compared to some of these auto electric specialists. Oh, it is fair to state that all of the damage that was incurred was covered by the mechanics, so you know, it's at no cost to us, so it was just an insurance thing that they had to do. So let's take the top off. Inside we're going to see, I don't know how this opens, I've never done this before. We're going to say, oh, okay. So there's a ribbon cable in here, as you might be able to see. I'm not too sure how that disconnects. It seems very brittle. Let me turn a light on. Okay. And I think what might happen here is, I don't think this was ever intended to be taken apart, but there are two more Phillips head screws in here that I might be able to just finagle out of here. It's going to need a smaller head, so let me grab another smaller screwdriver. I've acquired a smaller screwdriver. Let's continue the dissection. And this should fit, yep. And then there's one recessed screw right in here. Camera angle is not the best. I wanted to get as close to this thing as possible, so the overhead camera that I have set up here is not on an arm suited to go down lower. I should probably look into how I can remedy doing that. But one recessed screw here. And then maybe that'll kind of just wiggle out here. Let us have a look at that little camera. Yeah. So there's the camera. Right there. You can see its optics. Right there. And this is probably going to just lift out this whole PCB. Yes, it does. And just like a laptop kind of, yep, that was a heat sink. So this whole case was a heat sink, as I thought, and these look like just standard. These are wind bond chips, so I have to assume this might be a form of memory, and this is some form of logic, and this is the central processor right here. Let me grab an alcohol towelette, and we'll clean that up and see if it's any vendor that we know. Certainly looks like something that you'd find in an embedded PC or possibly a single board computer. Boy, that's some sticky stuff. I'll bet you, I wouldn't be surprised if this is some kind of maybe a VIA thing, or I know that there are certain electric cars, of which I don't talk about, that use NVIDIA logic for their There we go. So that lifts up, and this is like a laptop, like those little keyboard ribbon cables or the hard drive ribbon cables. That just lifts right out. Let's see what this is. You know no more than I do. This is a Xilinx Zinc, Z-Y-N-Q, or Zeno. Is it a Q or an O? Zino. Model number XA72030. So let me take a look at that. I will leave a data sheet in the description below, but what we can see here is that this is an AMD product. And from AMD docs, it states that this is the Zinc 7000 system on chip first generation architecture, and it is a family based upon the Xilinx architecture. These products integrate feature-rich dual-core or single-core ARM Cortex A9-based processing systems and 28-nanometer Xilinx programmable logic in one single device. The ARM Cortex A9 CPUs, these remind me of phones, very much so, are the heart of the processing system and include an on-chip memory and external memory interface and a rich connectivity of peripheral interfaces. So it has a CPU frequency of up to 1 gigahertz. The rest of this I'll just put in the link in the description. That is indeed memory. That is DDR3. And it's going to be no higher than, depending on where this is from what I'm seeing here, these are most commonly used in automotive applications. So these don't usually see anything more than 1.5 to 2 gigabytes of memory running at DDR3 1066. Very interesting. For those of you who might be interested in this, I will throw that in here so you can play along. There's a whole... They don't hold back on what this is. This is clearly an off-the-shelf part. This is not some Honda special sauce. So yeah, I will definitely include that in case you want to see it. But yeah, it looks to be no more than a little system on chip situation. And there's its little connector, or the harness would the harness would plug in, and then this would be mounted right in front of the rear view mirror. And this little doohickey here would allow you to receive information if you were departing a lane or if somebody was getting too close to you or whatever. I can't find any. This might be something that Honda is omitting as far as information, but I'd like to know what the parameters of this lens are. There's no real markings on it to speak of, otherwise I'd look that up too. Yeah, there's just a little date code of manufacture. This was manufactured in the 8th month of 2018. That's all we know. For Honda. That's what it states. So yeah, not much in here except this enclosure. This enclosure might be useful for something, not too sure. Likely not. We're actually going to be having two of these to compare and contrast. The one that was purchased Was not a VIN matched specific one because the mechanic in his sage wisdom said that he had a vendor for these. Yeah, right. It was not at all compliant with the vehicle because it was off a vehicle that wasn't VIN specific. So we have two of them now. So I'll take apart the other one and maybe do a compare and contrast because one of them I know is of a newer. That's a 20. That one is significantly newer, and it does not have this cast aluminum enclosure. So that was just a little bit of a funsy video, just to see what the hell was in here. If you ever wanted to know, maybe other cars. I have to assume a lot of other cars use something similar, or something, if not similar, something that serves the same purpose. Maybe has more features. But yeah, this little AMD chip is what's telling you that you got to stay in your lane, I guess. And it's telling you that other people aren't staying in theirs either. So, interesting stuff. Otherwise, there aren't really any remarkable details about that. But yeah, this is completely useless. It no longer functions, so it's just going to go into the e-waste pile. Would still like to know what that lens is capable of doing, or what kind of video signal, or if it's even a video, or if it's just some kind of a sensor. It has an optic like it's a camera lens, but beats the hell out of me because there's no discernible markings on it whatsoever. So yeah, 2018 and 2019 Honda Fit positioning module that was damaged by the mechanic and paid for by the mechanic. So really no harm done. Otherwise, it was working just fine. And before you make any comments about how the car was probably useless without this, you could drive the car just fine. We were advised by Honda that you could drive the car, just, you wouldn't have these lane assist features. And it would complain that this thing did not work properly. So I hope you had a little bit of fun just having a look at what the hell that thing did. I'm going to again include that data sheet in the description. These are standard screws for laptops, so I'm going to put these in my screw box. And I was right about the Loctite, or thread locker. So I might have to clean those up a little bit, but I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching. Not very informative, but again, I don't know much about these things at all, so I thought it would just be worth having a little bit of fun taking a peek inside. And all it took were two standard Phillips head screwdrivers. Kind of makes you wonder, all off-the-shelf parts, and why these things cost so much. Anyway, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. This is Fuji signing out.